YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back. Night after Thursday Night Football between the Colts and the Jets. Here to give you my takeaways. This is going to be very quick. It's going to have to be as well because the whole Odell Beckham Jr. situation. A lot of news coming out. We're talking on Twitter. We'll have an updated video on that because now pretty much every NFL team could afford him, so it changes everything. So we'll make a new video on that eventually here today. Gonna make this real quick. We're just going to give the takeaways just because how the game went, too. It was pretty straightforward. But yeah, follow us on Twitter. A lot of updates on there. We were talking already my thoughts throughout this Colts-Jets game yesterday. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. A lot of content here. There's our Twitter. A lot of Odell Beckham Jr. updates. Trevor Siemian starting for the Saints. So yeah, a lot going on. So to the Jets in the Colts game. Congratulations to whoever had the over in this game because it hit 75 total. Ridiculous. Yeah, the Colts dominated this one right off the bat. I mean, it could have been interesting if Mike White stayed in there. He looked pretty good from the small sample size we had. First Jets touchdown looked like broken coverage, perhaps. At first, it looked like Xavier Rhodes was supposed to be on Elijah Moore. But it looked like cover two. It looked like he was trying to look for who was kind of coming the flat, which is kind of underneath coverage. So I think a safety should have been there over the top. Maybe Blackman being out for the season, maybe that was the reason. But it was really only a big deal on that play. And they did give up 30. That's why the Colts defense, I know the Jets scored a lot of late points. I'm not a big fan of the term garbage time, but that's how people will put it. But it still felt like the Jets could move the ball on the Colts defense even earlier in the game. They would have moved it a little easier if Mike White would have been in. I don't think they would have won the game. The Colts had firm control in this game. And honestly, the Colts probably could have scored even more points in this game. But yeah, the Colts, the only thing a little iffy on during the game, defense looked like it wasn't too hard to move the ball against them for the most part. But the linebackers were fantastic, making big plays. Okereke had that last interception, racked up some tackles. Leonard had another forced fumble. Continues to punch the ball out, and I always talk about it. Punches the ball out at the same time he makes the tackle. There's a lot of guys that are always trying to punch the ball out, and the guy's gaining yard after yard. Oh, hey, he's got the first down. Look how much yards you just gave up trying to punch the ball out. Not Darius Leonard, so that's why I really respect that. But yeah, that was unfortunate with Mike White. And then, of course, Joe Flacco's inactive, so it goes to Josh Johnson. And I guess give credit to Josh Johnson getting thrown in there. He played an all right game. It wasn't a bad game for him given the circumstances. I really like the play calling, for the Jets, being able to adjust and getting the right play calls on third downs, being unpredictable. Play calling, LaFleur, pretty promising for the Jets. That's a positive. Elijah Moore looked real good. And you might say, why haven't they been getting them going? And why come they haven't been playing them? Well, they started the year actually playing them a bit. And then it kind of decreased because you didn't see him a whole lot. Decreased a little bit, but he was still playing around 50% snaps, but just not the 80 or so the beginning of the year. And then now it's starting to slightly go back up, but you're seeing him more now. So it's not – people kind of use that excuse where he wasn't playing enough snaps early. That's actually not the case. So is it a connection situation with Zach Wilson, which we thought that was a really good pairing. So it's still way too early, way too small of a sample size to tell, but it seems like for some reason, Wilson wasn't liking him as a target or wasn't seeing him as a target, we should say. And now maybe guys like Mike White and Josh Johnson are perhaps. They are using him in multiple different spots now, so they're using him about the same amount, but they're using him differently, which is good. He's going to be really good. It's going to be really good. Receiver there. Maybe Corey Davis being out, I guess, plays a factor. Again, he's not necessarily getting more snaps because Corey Davis is out. But he's got a bunch of guys, Crowder, Davis, Moore, a bunch of guys that can play in the slot, play outside, but their best ball probably, even if it's not majority of their snaps, some of them it is, but the best ball comes from the slot. So maybe that plays a part as well, probably. So we'll see what happens when Corey Davis comes back, but you definitely can use all of them at the same time. Yeah, so Elijah Moore play calling. Michael Carter's pretty solid. The quarterbacks played all right. Small sample size from Mike White. They played all right. But, yeah, a lot of injuries racking up. Mike White, Croft end up going out. Marcus May end up going out. Their safety, so injuries was not good. Defense, they got dominated up front. Nobody filling lanes, missing tackles. Not a lot of tackle attempts, honestly, because guys just missing responsibilities in the wrong spots, wrong time. They weren't where they were supposed to be. Coverage, a lot of guys chasing after guys, so defense didn't play too well, and it's probably up to why probably because the players on the field need to be better. Obviously, there's a couple pieces you can build with, including Carl Lawson, who's not in, obviously missing the season. But other than that, they probably got to rebuild. But I still don't like, even though Robert Saleh doesn't have the pieces that he's used to and to fully judge him on, I didn't really like the way he coached the game because a lot of man coverage. And I don't really, we saw a lot of cover 3 from Saleh back in the day, or not back in the, with the 49ers. And man coverage is tough for corners, and especially when you're on the weaker side of corners. So why are you having these guys just go chasing these Colts guys down when they do they'll do a lot of rub routes too. It's just, and that's common sense. So I don't, in the man coverage, it was bad how many times. I would like to see a percentage of how many times they're man coverage. I watched every snap though, and I've seen it a lot because you're weaker at corner, and it's more than corner, but that's kind of where it stands out. Just chasing after receivers. Again, the Colts run a lot of rub routes. That really makes it harder to stick on your man as well. That's kind of well known. But another thing is the Colts like to run the ball a lot. There's wide open holes. The corners don't know if it's run or pass right off the bat, especially if they're kind of on the below average corners. So they may be turning their bodies and getting downfield chasing receivers while the running back, Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines, whoever it is, they're going, and they don't even know. Man, coverage will do that to you, and the Colts took advantage of that. So I thought it was a poorly coached game, actually, defensively, not offensively for the Jets. The unfortunate thing, and there's a lot of teams like this, they just can't have offense and defense on the same page at the same time. For the majority of this year so far, it's been the offense has been very, very, very bad, worse than football, and the defense actually been pretty solid, getting pressure, stopping a run, and then all of a sudden it flipped very recently. I'd say the Patriots game, they gave up 54. The offense couldn't get much going in that game either. But after that, last week the offense was, and they won, but the offense was great against the Bengals defense, but the defense was struggling a little bit. And then the Colts game, they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. Poorly coached as well. Red zone, or goal line, I shouldn't say red zone, goal line defense, I guess somewhat of a positive. The Colts, a dominant day. Carson Wentz, he had a throw downfield early that I thought should have been picked. Outside of that, which it wasn't picked, but outside of that, I thought he had a great game. I thought this was, I don't know about the numbers. I'm not a big numbers guy to judge if a quarterback have his best game or not. I thought this might have been his best game just by ball placement, timing of throws. I mean, some ridiculously placed balls, some tough ones too. Sideline, tight window. We seen him read some coverages when it was man, when it was cover too. He was able to read the difference. And sometimes that tricks quarterbacks between those specific two coverages. Sometimes you can trap a quarterback into thinking it's man coverage, but really it's cover two. I thought Carson Wentz did a heck of a job reading those things, and then made some really good throws. The touchdown throw to Pittman, which was called incomplete but then reversed, that was a beautiful throw. It's not too far, but it's not an easy throw. I thought that was funny because I agree it's a touchdown, but a couple years ago that wouldn't have been a touchdown. Or he could have taken like 8 more steps, fell down, and then lost the ball, and it wouldn't have been a touchdown. So you see how the game changed then. Like all of a sudden, those were drops out of nowhere, and now all of a sudden that it's better. It's a good thing, but it's different. You see how much the NFL actually changes without realizing. I agree that it's a catch 100%, but the explanation was, even the NFL officiating on Twitter always explains these reversals, and the explanation basically was, it's not exactly word for word what they said, but it's if you go look at it on Twitter, it's what they said. They basically said he got 1 foot down, caught the ball, got 1 foot down, then eventually got 2 feet down. Just a different way of saying he got 3 feet down. I don't get why 3 feet down in the end zone is what makes that a catch. I agree that it's a catch, touchdown. But why is it that 3 feet? I don't really get that. So you're saying if it would have been 2 feet, catch 1, 2, should be over, then out, then it wouldn't be a touchdown. So that's where I'm a little confused. But yeah, I can't complain too much. I think they got the call right. Running backs set themselves today. Taylor ran wild, good vision, good speed. Hines, same thing. When he went across the field, it was a ridiculous play. A lot of the credit goes to the offensive line, the coaching staff, the scheme, the blocking scheme. We had a fat man touchdown out there. It was a great day for the offensive line. So, it's kind of getting back to how it was. And the run blocking hasn't really changed. As I say, the pass blocking is kind of easing there to where it was kind of those elite years, last couple years, but the run blocking has always been the same. It's just elite, just dominant, and that was the difference in this game, really. Not that they needed the running game though, because Carson Wentz was having a good game. Yeah, play calling was great. Some people getting a little down on Reich. I thought the last couple weeks. I haven't really been one, but yeah, it was a well executed game. Great game plan, great play calling. We talked about the defense already. Defense, I mean, it looked like they were able. I know a lot of the Jets' points and yards came late. So it's not anything to worry about, like, oh, because they did that, that means they're in trouble. No, it's not really that, but the Jets were moving the ball fairly well in this game early. Yeah, if it wasn't that Darius Leonard forced fumble was huge, actually, because I felt like the Jets were going to move down there and make it an interesting game again. It would have been a tie game, actually, if I'm not mistaken, if they would have went and got 7, that is. So that was a big play, but they were able to move the ball a little bit. Mainly due to the Colts being beat up at corner and safety a little bit there. No Blackman, so that could be it. But Jets look like they're getting some offense going. They scored 34 on the Bengals. But this offensive performance, I don't care that they played the Jets. This offensive performance was great for the Colts. But it does look like the way the Jets have been playing recently does look like the worst in football. But just extremely impressive from the Colts because Carson Wentz was making throws that I haven't seen him make a whole bunch of, since his struggles last year. He's made them more here and there this year, but I thought he consistently made those throws, and it really doesn't matter who the defense is out there when you make those throws. It's still just as impressive, and it's that meaningful still. So I was impressed. I was impressed with the Colts offense, and it's definitely a much better team than a record. I think we knew that. We say that about a lot of teams. I think it's bullshit on some teams. The Colts, I think they're much better than a record. Like the meaning or looking at like if you go head to head with the Colts and you got a much better record than them, I'm like, all right, we're way better in this team. It's not really going to feel like that. For other teams, it's going to feel like that. So, yeah, now they get the long break here and we'll see what they got, see if they can make a run here for the wild card. I definitely think they can. So that was an impressive game for them. It's weird seeing the Jets defense that bad because it was pretty decent earlier in the year. So I'm expecting it to continue to be that bad. More things on film. Colts exposing some things here, but not everybody can block like the Colts, run blocking specifically, so we'll see. That's going to wrap this one up. Odell Beckham Jr. situation's heating up. We'll have you covered on that with Twitter, and on Twitter, and then we'll have an updated video as well later today. We'll get working on that. So, yeah, again, check us out on Twitter, link down below. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We much appreciated. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.